Hello, and good morning and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on the cost of quality and your bottom line. Improving the cost of quality to maximize business, brand, and revenue. So we have three speakers for you today. Caitlin Zecca, IT Manager, Quality Management Systems at Corning. Paul Smith, Group Quality and Regulatory Affairs Director at Owen Mumford, and Jamie Fernandez, Chief Product Officer at ETQ. My name is Jennifer Bianchini, and I am also with ETQ on the product marketing team, and I'll be helping to facilitate the webinar this morning. So before we get into the webinar, we would just like to cover a couple housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them with the Q&A feature that you will see at the bottom of this window. Also, the webinar will be recorded and sent to you in a follow-up email. So moving along, before we start today, we'd like to start the webinar with a couple of poll questions. So the first one we have here is, how do you define the cost of poor quality? So we have a few options for you. A, the expenses that occur when poor quality products are released to your customers. Or B, costs that support a corrective action to eliminate the cause of the nonconformity. Or C, the costs associated with providing poor quality products or services. Or D, you're not quite sure what the cost of poor quality is, and that's okay. So we'll give you a few seconds to choose the correct answer. And let's see. Wow, this is great. We got a smart group here with us today. The correct answer is C, the costs associated with providing poor quality products or services. Very good. So just one more. So the next question is, what are the biggest sources of quality related costs to your organization? Choose as many that apply. So is it supply chain, scrap, rework, downtime, excessive inventory, field support, or customer complaints, or you're not sure? And again, we'll just give you a couple seconds here. And I'm excited to see what everyone says. Let's see. Oh, this is a nice mix. So it looks like the highest one is rework. Yeah, that's definitely relatable. And then it looks like, wow, then if you see a nice drop off. Field support and customer complaints. Yep. And supply chain and scrap. Very interesting. That's very insightful. Thanks everyone for taking the time to answer those questions. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Jamie Fernandez, and let's dig on in. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for your time today. I have the unenviable task of standing between you and the experts that are going to present real life use cases. So I'll move quickly through, kind of double clicking on cost of poor quality. So, let's look at those costs, right? So two categories, and again, you're probably well versed in these, and based on the poll answers, we saw like 55% of those costs are related to internal failure costs, as far as what you guys had outlined on the poll, and that's a lot, right? So rework, scrap, efforts spent on FMEA, which is a little bit softer in terms of people's time, and then remediation of those things, and then those external failure costs, right? When things escape, make it out to the customer. And then you have things like, the returns, the warranty claims, and the field services. But those are only that's one side of the total quality equation, right? The cost of good quality are also, part of that total equation. And that's the people, process, and technology that underpin, driving that and preventing the costs on the left side, right? So in process inspection, incoming goods, supplier qualification inspection, and management, and the final goods inspection before things go out the door, as well as, the prevention costs, right? The planning, the training, the audits, all of the audits, supplier evaluations. And so, taking all of that into account, it's just that kind of total equation. This is, a broad set of this total set of costs. And could you go to the next slide, Jennifer? Thanks. And so the hidden dangers of poor quality, right? So those hidden costs, it's above and below the waterline. So we talked about those visible ones, right? But what else are there, right? Lost sales opportunity, degraded brand image, right? When those escapes happen, and there's things like recalls and such, right? The engineering change orders, the work that has to happen to recalibrate, lines that maybe were creating those issues, late deliveries, excess inventory, long cycle times, and those things. So cost of poor quality ranges 15 to 20% of the total cost, right? That's a lot of costs. And so, focusing on making sure that the total equation is balanced and we're reducing those costs, with the work on the right side of our equation, keeping the costs down on the left side. So without further ado, I will hand to Caitlin, who will talk to you about how Corning improved on cost of poor quality.
Excellent. Thanks, Jamie. So hello, everybody. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. My name is Caitlin Zecca. I'm the IT manager for quality management systems at Corning Incorporated. A little bit about myself. I've been with Corning for over 8 years now. I've got a variety of background and experience at Corning and elsewhere. And really, I've been on my quality journey for over 6 years now. In a variety of roles. And I've been specifically working with ETQ now for, at least 5 years. And in my current role, I am the IT manager focusing specifically on our ETQ deployments within Corning. So something unique about Corning is that we actually have 8 separate deployments of ETQ Reliance. So there's a lot to manage. My team and I work exclusively on the design and development of ETQ Reliance for Corning, and we spend a lot of time focusing on the cost of quality, cost of poor quality, and what we can do to help our businesses within Corning continue to manage all aspects of quality. So what I'm going to focus on and chat with you a little bit over the next few minutes is specifically about, some of the things that we've overcome and some of the work that we continue to do. So Jennifer, next slide, please. So quickly, before we jump into that, just a little bit about Corning so that you get an idea of scope. Corning has been around for getting closer to 200 years. We were founded in 1851. We're headquartered out of Corning, New York, our namesake. We have about 60,000 employees, and we are a very large company. We are in the Fortune 500 ranking. As of 2022, we ranked 263rd. And we are one of the world's leading innovators for material science. So when you think of Corning, think of glass. Typically, most of our products get their start in glass base of some sort. We've expanded now into more of the ceramic sciences as well as optical physics. A lot of our businesses focus on fiber optic, life sciences. So you may be familiar with Pyrex brands. When you think of labware, beakers and flasks, things like that. Even your internet, so your Ethernet cabling, your fiber optic that brings fiber to the home or to your business. Corning is very involved in that, and we do a lot of work to continue to transform industry and enhance everybody's lives through glass related and ceramic related product. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's go back to talking a little bit about ETQ Reliance use across Corning. So as I'd mentioned, we have a pretty atypical implementation. We have 8 separate deployments. Most businesses, when they set up a quality management system, typically have 1, maybe 2, depending on the nature of the business. We have 8. We treat each of our divisions within Corning like their own separate business. That is because they may have very different needs because of their products or how they operate. And so we've given everyone a lot of freedom to define how they choose to set up their QMS. Within those 8 deployments, we have 6 that are cloud-based, so they are SaaS, software as a service, and we have 2 that are still on-premise. And across those 8 deployments, we have 13 different businesses or groups that are operating within them. So some divisions, some businesses have their own exclusive deployment of Reliance. Some are shared. And about half of our employees within Corning, so 29,000 plus users, are in ETQ Reliance on a regular basis, engaging with documents, quality-related processes, CAPA, change management. And across all 8 of those deployments, we have over 100 applications in use. So those are, deployments of document control, again, CAPA, change management, non-conformance. It's a lot to manage. So that is what my team and I are working on every day to continue to design, develop, maintain, make sure that everything is running smoothly and the wheels are greased. So my team has existed now for several years. We were really established in 2018. As I said, it exists of myself and 4 core developers. And our job is to be the project manager and to be the developers that partner with all of our quality teams across Corning. So we're actually very integrated and spend a lot of time getting to know everyone and understand what their quality needs are. So we've become very familiar with the nitty-gritty details of, hey, what happens on the manufacturing floor? What's going on? Where are you struggling with your cost of good quality and cost of poor quality? And our goal now is to continue to work on standardizing more of our quality processes across all of the businesses. So the challenge, because we have so many deployments, is we don't want people to become too disconnected. We don't want our businesses to become so disjointed that they aren't following some form of similar practice across CAPA, change management, et cetera. We want them to follow a similar standard, a baseline, and continue to grow and move forward in Reliance, and also adhere to some principles of manufacturing 4.0. So you may have heard about that in the industry, and continuing to move forward on the digital revolution. So continuing to digitize, continuing to move forward, in our use of technology. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about cost of poor quality. One of the things that we've been doing at Corning specifically is we've been working to try to increase our visibility of cost of poor quality. So we have a lot of businesses that are doing a lot of work every day, and we're collecting a lot of data. We are very, very data rich at Corning. And one of the problems we've had in the past is we collect all of this information and we don't know what to do with it. We have lots of data that's either sitting on a piece of paper or it's sitting in a system, and we're not connecting it to anything. So one of the things we're trying to do now through the use of ETQ Reliance and through the use of connecting modules within Reliance is standardizing the use of this, continuing to grow our data in there, but connecting it together. So capturing more information, both the good things and the bad things that comes out of our quality activities and out of our products, and continue to grow the use of those modules so we can actually make a correlation in our data. Look for those trends. Figure out if we are seeing repeat occurrences of issues and actually start to tackle those repeat issues. We oftentimes tackle projects on a 5-year repeat basis. I'm sure some of you out there in the audience are smiling and shaking your head like, yep, we deal with this too, right? This cycle repeats itself all the time. We want to get out of that habit. But in order to do that, we need to increase the visibility that we tend to have these habits to begin with. So the first thing is making our data available to us and actually starting to track and trend that. And one of the things that we're really latching onto now, most recently in the last couple of years, is making use of our Reliance data through reporting in Power BI. So really pulling a lot of that COPQ data out, putting it into Power BI and paying more attention. Many of our businesses are now taking all of their CAPA data out, their nonconformance data out. Those that are heavy users of complaints handling, we're pulling that into Power BI, and we're pulling that data here. So all of these quality events, but ultimately we've never been very good about being predictive. So we're always chasing our tail here. We're always looking to try to catch up when something has already occurred. We're trying to fix the mistakes that have happened, but we've just never been able to predict. So let's talk a little bit more about anticipating and trying to save ourselves. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we're trying to do now in order to help anticipate and to save on cost of poor quality is that we're adding more things into our quality practices to benchmark for good practices. So one of the efforts we embarked on in the last year or so was we added fields into our corrective action process within Reliance to actually ask our businesses, hey, when you are going through a corrective action, did you make a change that you would consider to be a good or best practice? And is it a good or best practice for your business or potentially for the entire corporation? And we're actively collecting that information now and gathering that up at a corporate level to assess it and review and determine if it's information that we should flow out to all businesses. So these are things that corporate quality now looks at and takes action on. Whereas in the past, we didn't do anything on that kind of level. We didn't roll information up to that kind of a corporate group, and we didn't look at things in that kind of a scope. We're now also taking more of that trending information and using the historical data to actually identify and take action to prevent things from happening again in the future. So when I was talking about, hey, we all end up in this cycle of, I know we just went through this 5 years ago. We do this project every 5 years to fix something. We're actually paying attention to that now. We're actually collecting the data, and we have enough data now to say, yes, we did do this 5 years ago. We're not going to do it again. We're going to stop this before it happens again. And we're taking the time to create the correct projects and the correct actions to stop it from happening, which ultimately does save us money. It helps us anticipate before it's going to happen again. And we stop it and make a change for the better. We're also working to incorporate more of those standardized quality processes into Reliance as part of the Manufacturing 4.0 roadmap, which I had mentioned. This means increased connectivity to the manufacturing floor and to our end users. So when we talk about quality being everybody's responsibility and quality being part of everyone's job every day, we want to do more to lock down our procedures, our machining recipes, and our specifications. And we want to work more with our users to make sure that they know what their responsibilities are and that they have the appropriate permissions and trainings in order to do what's expected of them at their machines, at their equipment, and in their day-to-day role. So these are things that we're actively working on today. We have projects in place right now where we are exploring and taking the steps forward to make the connections and establish the correct paths through Reliance and through our additional systems through Campstar and other softwares that we have in place at Corning to actually connect the dots between each of the systems, each of the required pieces of information to say, hey, if all of these boxes are checked, then yes, this user now has permission to perform this action on a machine. And if any one of those boxes are not checked, then no, we cannot move forward, and it prevents bad product from coming off of the line. So this helps us prevent bad product, which results in wasted time, wasted money, stops that cost of poor quality before it ever happens. We're also working on having better, more cohesive, visible, searchable audits to help highlight findings and corrections. So audits for Corning in the past have been incredibly paper-based. They've been very disjointed. And for all of our businesses, they've all been done and captured and saved in various different kinds of ways. We are very much on the path of a global project to roll out audit management in Reliance to everybody at Corning. We're about halfway through this project now, and we are standardizing and rolling out the audit management module for everyone with the intended plan of making sure that everyone moves towards digital capturing of audits, standardized methodology for capturing this, and again, taking that data and rolling it up to a corporate level in a standardized format so that we can actually compare if business A and business B perform the same kind of audit to the same questionnaire, the same specs. How are our results comparing? Are they dramatically different? Are they in line with one another? And what are our opportunities for improvement? And this will also help drive down our cost of poor quality. It'll help us highlight where we have significant differences. We can actually assess and review these things side by side much easier than any way we've done it in the past. And we don't have to chase paper trails, things hidden in file cabinets. So all in all, it's a journey, right? Cost of poor quality is something that is part of continuous improvement. It never goes away completely, but it's something that we're always working towards trying to reduce the amount that we have. And Reliance has been a huge factor for Corning to continue to work on this effort. And truly now, in the last couple of years, we've taken significant steps to standardize, roll things up at a global level for us, and really just move forward on taking a bigger picture approach at our data and be more thoughtful about what do we have, what do we know, and what can we do to make sure that we are being mindful and we're not repeating ourselves every few years and continuing to fall into that trap of wasting the money, wasting the time, using our quality data for good purpose. So I want to say thank you. I appreciate the time. I hope everyone learned a little something about Corning and our journey here, and I'd like to pass it on next to my friend Paul, who's going to chat.
Thanks, Caitlin, and hello, everyone. So I'm Paul Smith, Quality and Regulatory Affairs Director at RM Mumford. We are a medical device design and manufacturing company. Been established for around 73 years, and as you can probably tell from my accent, we're based in the UK, very close to Oxford. So over the years we've had a good relationship with the university, and it was really that interaction back in the 1970s where we leapt into medical devices with some inventions around diabetes. So I joined the business back in 2012 as a quality manager and have been responsible for the whole of the quality organization since about 2014. And this is a summary of the journey we've been on since 2014 around quality culture to address that the reflection of cost of poor quality or the cost of good quality. So as a medical device manufacturer, we are obviously operating a highly regulated industry with a huge focus on compliance and guidelines. So back when I joined the business, our quality system was all paper-based. and we had some challenges as a business. So that really started the journey, a transformation to have a look at really what the culture was to do with quality, how we could improve things, and really push on. So we've been using ETQ since about 2022, 23. So this is really a summary of the journey from where we started back a decade ago to really getting a culture and a fit right for us then to digitalize things and really use ETQ and all the benefits of Reliance to take us on to the next part of the journey. So really, I'm going to go back to the start and have a look at really what triggered the journey and where we were moving through, and a little bit around quality culture and how that affects compliance mindset. So on the next slide, really there is a summary of 4 different states, if you like. So businesses, medical devices industry, you can be consciously non-compliant. So you're not aware of the regulations and you're not meeting them, which is obviously a very sad state to be in. And then the next step on the journey is you become aware of the regulations, but you're still not meeting them. Now, back in 2014, we'd got to the point of where we were compliant, but we were consciously compliant. So we were having to think about compliance, quality, to make sure we met all of the rules. And really, what we needed to do was get to the point of where we are today, where we are meeting the regulations and people aren't even thinking about it. The culture is there, the quality is embedded in everything we do. So therefore, we have a much lower cost of poor quality. One of the key drivers and the key ways of testing this is as a medical device manufacturer, we need to expect an unannounced inspection from our notified bodies at any given time. And it's how you react to that and how you come out of that, showing that level of compliance just when an auditor knocks on the door at 9 o'clock in the morning and you're not expecting them. So they really see the business and the manufacturing processes as they are day to day. And over recent history, we've had 4 or 5 unannounced audits, and they've just been taken in our step as if it's as part of everyday life. So really that gives me the reassurance that our culture, our mindset, and that cost of poor quality, we have a much better control of than we did a decade ago. So just going backwards and what the poor quality culture, what do I mean by that? So on the next slide, what we had was we were consciously compliant. So the products we made and released were safe and effective, but we had a poor customer experience, poor product quality, high scrap rates, multiple product issues, poor inspections. And back to what Jamie was presenting, and that cost of quality iceberg, many of those aspects we were seeing day to day. And one of the triggers for it was when we look at the overall picture, and particularly when in terms of we were then due an inspection from the FDA, which really triggered a deep, hard look at ourselves. So if we look at some of those the details, and on the next slide, please, it shows just where we were back in 2014. So third-party audits in 2014, we had 7 of them. This was just in the UK, 1 critical finding, 13 major findings, 35 minor findings. The transformation of that to last year, and we have 2 sites of manufacturing in the UK. We have a US site and we have a Malaysia site now. So across the whole of last year, we had 12 third-party audits, no critical findings, 2 major findings, and 17 minor findings. So really, I'm using the audit and the findings as a measure and a KPI of kind of where those issues sit. What's the cost of that quality that you're not aware of, because audits are always picking up things that you don't see day to day. So quite a dramatic improvement across our audit history. So that was kind of part of the driver for us to improve things. So moving on to the next slide is look at how did we do it? How did we improve that quality culture, that quality focus, and drive the cost of quality? One of the things that is absolutely key is the focus and support from top management throughout the entire business. So I needed to kind of get the buy-in of the rest of our management team, the exec team, and really push for an understanding of where the issues were and what the impact of them was, taking it back to the cost of quality. And then it was a series of process improvements. So the one I triggered on was kind of CAPA, because CAPA is how you fix when problems happen. And if your CAPA are out of control, you have reoccurring problems, you have high scrap rates, so all of those things that impact that. And we really suffering from accountability. So we needed to make sure that owners were accountable, not only for their actions, but also dealing them by the due date. The longer you have CAPA before you fix it, the higher the chances of it being a reoccurrence. The other thing we then introduced was an impact assessment. So kind of where you have a high critical impact event and you need a CAPA to fix it, they're the ones you need to focus on and move to fixing, rather than those for the more minor impact. As we worked through that, slowly but surely there was a mindset shift that then creates the space to continuously improve processes, fix where the process is driving the poor behavior, and start really impacting that cost of quality. So onto we also saw our customers. For some of our customers, we are a high risk supplier, and in one in particular, that meant that we had multiple people based in our plants, in our sites, which meant that kind of it was a tough journey, and there was a high cost of dealing with the customer because they're in your presence every day. There were various issues that got to a critical and challenging relationship with them, and they would measure us on a scorecard for all their suppliers, and we were very much a low side of average, and that was as recent as 2017. And when you are a critical supplier to a customer who have a $15 to $20 billion a year franchise, that's a place that is very uncomfortable, and you don't want to be. You don't want to be that supplier. So really, we needed to make a dramatic change and push us our levels up. So with a dedicated project and a team, we managed to push that improvement. And since May 2017, we've been in the top bracket for that one customer. So they then slowly took out their people in the plant. So they've left us now for 4 years. We've had various different top suppliers and recognition events with that customer. So we've gone from the very annoying supplier that can't get anything right to one that they don't even see as anything other than business as normal is absolutely perfect. So what else? The change of culture and the change that focus on cost of poor quality. So we've seen a reduction in third-party audit findings, not only across the board, but we've had 4 manufacturing sites inspected by the FDA since 2015, and all of those 4 inspections have finished with no 483s issued. So a really good history of FDA inspections. Our UK 2023 notified body audit was the best ever. So they found 2 very minor findings across nearly 17 days of audit time. As I said earlier, one of my big focuses was on CAPA and getting that under control. As we've reduced CAPA, we've had less non-conformances. So in the UK alone, we've pushed non-conformances down from over 560 a year down to 379. As you get more CAPA, less non-conformance reports, that means the number of complaints you get from the market gets reduced. So we've halved what we had back in 2016, purely because we're picking up the issues, we're picking up the products that need to have fixes in place, etc. And that's been dramatically improved. As I said before, improved customer perception from a very annoying supplier to one that a key customer is happy to give us an award just for the level that we deliver them. To date, 4 unannounced notified body audits, and it's all as if it's part of our normal day, to the point of when we have auditors turn up there, we get them into a room and they're starting to audit within a half an hour of arriving on site, and where they're expecting to have to go out and source their own lunch at lunchtime, we've already got it on site ready for them, and so they are here as if we expect them every day. So when I take a step back, it's evident that we have achieved that level of unconscious compliance, and really fixed the quality culture so that we can really push hard and improve processes, improve things, to get the cost of quality in the right side of the equation. So that journey took us through to a point where our paper-based quality system, the old paper-based system, was getting truly a great reputation from audit. And then I decided to go and break that by going from the paper-based system into implementing ETQ and digitalizing it. So the decision around that was to do with sustainability. Sustainability across different parts of sustainability. So part of it, resource hungry. So the paper-based system was, I had people that were administering pieces of paper, moving them from one area to the other, chasing people for their action. I need to make sure that the business is leaner and the processes are driving that good behavior. So that's now ETQ has all of the functionality to do the chasing for people and to move things around and make sure that people have reminders of when they need to get their actions done, really. And we have got the resources focusing on the parts of the process that add value rather than just move things from one area to the other. As a business, we're also very much focused on the environment and being sustainable, and a paper-based system and the amount of paper that we use clearly doesn't meet our sustainability goals or our business objectives. So moving to a digital platform really does help that. And as in the working environment with COVID and lockdowns, we saw that there's a change of culture. So having a paper-based system and many people, many parts of our associates being able to work remotely doesn't work. So having that one digital system enables us to do that. The other thing is I have a global team and a paper-based system, and the databases we used to have, everything was very much site-specific. So understanding what the global metrics are and having everything in place to be able to get the overall view was impossible. So moving to ETQ, Reliance, and having that global reach means all of the data comes through from very many different sites, and I've got the overall view. And as we add more sites, so we have a new manufacturing site that's about to come online over the next few months, adding that to the network has been very easy. So really kind of when I'm talking about compliance, culture, and how the cost of quality has been profitable, for us, it was all about hitting the bottom line. But as our mission statement is to grow profitably and make a positive difference to customers, users, associates, and environment, the profit impacts all of those. So yes, there's a financial benefit, but it's also the sustainability impact on the planet. But overall, the whole journey was around making sure that as a business, we deliver safe and effective medical devices to our patients without having a high cost of quality that impacts the business and makes it unprofitable.
Thank you so much, Paul and Caitlin, for sharing your journeys with us. That was very insightful, learning how you each reduce the cost of poor quality. So what I'd like to do now is we've had some really great questions come in from our audience. So I will go ahead and go through a couple of those, and we'll get on through those and see what this first one here is for Caitlin. So from Caitlin's presentation about benchmarking good practice changes, I'm curious how people see the information in the field outside those involved in that CAPA. How do you share the information and keep it from just being a good idea that doesn't get put into practice?
Great question. So this is a newer thing that we put into place over the last year, talking about, writing in and saying, hey, we think this is a good or a best practice, either for the business or division level, or potentially for the corporate level. And ultimately, that suggestion gets rolled up to corporate quality, right? Which serves as like a governance team to review that suggestion for good or best practice and determine through further questioning, further communication with that business to say, hey, tell me more about your CAPA, tell me more about why you think this was, a good or best change that you made. Let's dig a little deeper and gain a little more information, right? Because sometimes a text field where you've put a paragraph or two of information into your CAPA in Reliance, it is maybe not enough, right? It's a glimpse into, hey, we made a change. We think this did something good or lasting for us. It may need to be adapted or changed a little further in order for it to have some sort of greater impact for everybody on the whole within Corning. So the reality is that it needs to go through a series of governance and greater conversation in order to be adapted. So this is new. The reality is that this is a change of pace from anything we've done before. And it does take a multifaceted team of people to really work through that. And then when you take that to each business and say, hey, we'd like to propose that you implement this, and corporate quality comes to you and says, we want to discuss inserting this into your quality process, you have to look at that business individually also and say, we want to insert this good practice, but it may require a couple modifications to suit your business needs. That's the challenge and the unique thing with Corning, is that although we do our best to try to standardize and push good practices out or standard practices out to all of our businesses and our groups, nothing is truly 100% standard. And that's the challenge. And that's what keeps me busy every day too, is that we are constantly having to make little modifications, little tweaks here and there in order to always make sure that we're meeting the business's needs as well. So you can take a general philosophy, you can take a general concept, and you can go have a conversation with a business and say, hey, we want to work with you to incorporate this in, but we also recognize that we need to work with your product and your quality needs as well. What can we do to try to insert this in to continue on your journey for quality, your journey to reduce poor quality? What can we do to start making this happen, and either turn it into a project if it's a significant thing, or maybe it's a minor change. Maybe it's just an opportunity to capture a little bit more data to fill in a missing puzzle piece somewhere.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Caitlin.
The next question, and I think you both kind of called out a linkage between the manufacturing processes and quality. So where do you see that? How pronounced is that linkage for you, and how are you kind of deriving insights that are kind of optimizing your process? I think, Caitlin, you touched on that in your slides.
So it's growing, right? And this is something that is a newer concept. And, I touched on something called Manufacturing 4.0, and what we're referring to as Manufacturing 4.0 at Corning. This is essentially like the next wave of the industrial revolution, and it is the digitization of everything. It's the digitization of manufacturing processes, of quality processes, of how we tie all of that together in order to have a cohesive overall process on how we make our products, of how we collect our data, of how we capture our quality information, our product information, our user information, and how we spit our product out on the back end. I think the challenge here is that we all have many systems at play. You know, for some facilities, you have several dozen systems. You can have upwards of 50, 60, even 100 different systems that are capturing information at any time and spitting out some piece or many pieces of data that help paint a picture of what's going on. And we are challenged with piecing all of that together in some way to tell you overall what's your inventory, what's the status of any given widget or assembly or product as a whole, where is it going, where is it coming in, is it out the door, who's holding it, you know, what's happening, is it good, bad, is it being dispositioned? You know, there's all these insertions of your manufacturing process and your quality, and it's all happening together at once. It would be untruthful for me to say that we have this all figured out. We don't. We're working on it. The reality is we've identified and we have a good mapping of how we want things to ideally look, and everybody's on a journey to get there. Some facilities are less complicated than others and are maybe further along on that process because they have less systems to connect. Some facilities are massive and have many systems at play where we are slowly mapping them together and connecting those spider webs of data and systems in order to get them to a place where this is more cohesive. You know, some facilities, it's a couple-year journey. Some facilities, maybe 10 years from now, we're in a better place where everything is functioning nice and smooth, and we can pull up a report on a computer and get a readout of anything on a product at any point in the process. It's been disjointed for a long time. And the reality is that we are just now getting to the point where we're starting to get a better handle on this information. But ETQ Reliance plays a critical piece in this, right? Because we are getting a feed out of information of when we have a quality event or we have something quality related going on with our product, we need to know what's happening there and what kind of data is feeding out of that. So in real time, when a user is inputting information against a product into Reliance, we need to know what's going on there, and we need to know how that's feeding into our ERP systems for inventory or where that product is now sitting off the line. And Reliance is what's ultimately capturing that data. So that's how it kind of feeds back into the side of the manufacturing process as a whole.
That's great. Thank you, Caitlin. So we've had a question come in for Paul. Paul, how do you sustain the improvements made in the company?
That's a really good question, and I think for me one of the key bits is to have the data to be able to clearly get people to understand the journey you've come from. So for me, a lot of the KPIs, a lot of the data that I presented, it becomes, there's a whole raft of other information that I use internally for people just to see the mindset shift and what we've come on, and to sustain it and to push it on and move forward with it. We still get a couple of thousand complaints a year from our products. Now, while a very high proportion, so 95% of those complaints are not product issues, but patients not using them correctly, so our instructions for use are not correct. That's still a couple of thousand complaints too many, because that means on a given day a patient has not been able to use the medical device. So we need to solve that. So we need to push our levels even higher. We're also in an industry where the rules and regulations around us are moving every year. So there's a movement to make products safer, more effective, to really improve things. So unless you're really going to be agile enough to adapt and move forward, just because we've achieved what we've achieved over the last year, 10 years, very quickly in the space of a year, if we stand still, the industry and everything around us has moved on, and you're just back at the bottom of the mountain again. So really, it makes sure that you've got a clear message, a clear demonstration of what you've achieved, but always knowing that the target is moving and you have to move with it.
That's great. Thank you, Paul. I feel like we'd be amiss if we didn't have a question come in about AI. It seems to be the buzzword of the year. So I'll leave this up to either one of our speakers today to answer this question. So it is, do you use AI or machine learning to predict negative quality events?
So I'll answer that, and it's kind of, the answer is no, not yet. One of the challenges for me was we're just starting on the digital journey and having all of the data in one place. So it's the intention, and it's very much a focus of AI is going to be a bigger and bigger topic in the future. So I'm going to be excited on the day that I can answer, yes, we are using AI and it's given us a prediction and we're reacting to it and we're seeing benefits, but not yet, but it's very much the intention to.
And I think I would echo Paul by also saying that we are certainly in the early stages of adapting into AI and machine learning. I think we're starting to use it for some data understanding and data that we're pulling out of our systems, but we're still very early on in these stages of using it to predict. So I think we're going to see more of it in the coming years. You know, it's something that we are eager to get a better handle on, and I think we're starting to experiment with it. But like with all new things, we have to gain a measure of trust with it, right? So I certainly see this as being part of the wave of the future, and part of manufacturing 4.0 is that we need to put more trust into this. And in order to expedite a lot of what we do, we need to build this into our process. But it's still new, and we're still figuring out how to incorporate this into our many systems and making sure that it's a cohesive piece of everything that we have as part of all of our manufacturing and quality.
Yeah, I agree. Still early days, though we do hear it quite a bit. This next question is interesting because it really is working with other departments throughout the organization. So the question is, and I'll leave this to either one of you who'd like to take this. How can you convince the leadership team the importance of implementing the cost of poor quality?
So my approach on how I did that and how I would tackle it is more to reverse it and talk about the implications and what the impact of is if you don't focus on improving things and you don't get that cost of poor quality under control. So I think one of the things in the medical device world that people absolutely dread is when you go through and you have to recall a product. And there is a huge financial burden with performing a recall, but that's absolutely second in what the biggest impact is, and that's reputation. And when you're coming from a non-quality background, and people are talking about damaging the reputation to the business, you put it in terms that it becomes impossible for them to look beyond. And if they don't see what the benefits of having a good control of cost of quality are, I would position it as to what the impact of not having that control is, and that becomes the language that they understand a lot better and a lot quicker, because it really does have a negative impact on the business.
Yeah, agreed. I think Paul put it very well. And, leadership does not like getting a negative letter on their desk, either from, an auditor saying that, hey, things are out of control here and you've got a finding, whether it's from, medical device, life science related, Corning certainly has a component of that going on, or any kind of audit for any of your products. Or to find out that you're losing revenue, you're losing business and wasting money because you've got more product spilling off to the side that's bad than good going out your door to your customers. I think one of the biggest things we've done that's been most helpful is being better about putting the appropriate right kind of data in front of our leaders. So again, making use of the data you have, but being smarter about the data you're pulling out of your systems and building dashboards that are clean and simple, but tell a very effective story. So think about what is critical for your leaders to see and think about the story that is most important for them to see and what's high impact. So use the data that you have to paint the picture, use the metrics and correlate it to the dollars. Simplify what you need to relate number of products spilling on the floor to dollars also falling on the floor, and use that to paint an effective picture to say, hey, if we can stop this, this is how much more money we put back in our pocket. And that helps. It really does.
That's very helpful advice. Thank you. So I think we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. We lost our presentation, but we can definitely go ahead and keep moving here. Oh, there we go. Pop back up. So I think we have time for one more question, and then we'll start to wrap it up. So one here is, they mentioned, so they said they heard audits a lot from both Caitlin and Paul. And since we're talking quality, they were curious to know, were these ISO 9001 quality audits?
I'll jump in and say yes, and many others. We are rolling out the audit management module at Corning for a variety of types of audits, both to conduct internal and external supplier audits, as well as to conduct internal ISO audits for 9001, for life sciences, to be able to conduct internal 13485 audits, as well as a wide variety of other audit types. So the audit module is fantastic because you can build in your own templates with your own questionnaires for anything you want, honestly. So some of our businesses that deal with automotive and other industries that have a wide variety of audit types that they deal with, when they want to do internal auditing and practice against any of those audits that they need to, or those compliance requirements that they need to adhere to, we can build those questionnaires in. So the goal here is, although we are starting simple with just a few things, I can see upwards of several dozen different types of audits in use for us, in the very near future. So ISO 9001 is certainly a core one, but the opportunities are ultimately limitless. You can build in whatever you like.
And from my perspective, audits that I was referring to would tend to be either ISO 13485, which is the medical device equivalent of 9001, or US FDA regulations, or various other regulations from national authorities and competent authorities. We don't currently use the audit module in ETQ Reliance, but from what just Caitlin's just said, I think I'll add that onto the list of ones that we'll implement in the near future, because it becomes a very routine paper or orientated process to gather all the same information, whether that's audits you're doing or whether you're being audited. So having the module in ETQ to centralize it all, particularly from different sites, is very useful.
All right, thank you, Caitlin and Paul. So just very quickly here, we have less than a minute. So we would just like to share with you that no matter where you are in your quality journey, ETQ is here and ready to help you from calculating the ROI for your business case to mapping out your deployment strategy or following any level of onboarding support you may need. We would love the opportunity to share our expertise and help you along your quality journey. And on the next slide, you will see the vast amount of industries and customers that we have worked with. So you will see that you are in good company and good hands. And on the following slide, we're happy to share with you that for over 30 years, we have empowered quality champions to use quality management as a catalyst for business success. And we aim to be a trusted advisor to our customers, helping to guide them through their quality journey. So we are so happy you joined us today. We hope you found it very informative. And as we mentioned at the top of the webinar, you will receive a link to the recording. And feel free to stop by our website and check out the many resources that we have to help you reduce the cost of poor quality. Thank you again and enjoy the rest of your day.